Hi, I'm Wayne and this is Bassador Woodworking. For today's project, we will be updating and recreating this radiator cover. We'll be creating a one-for-one reproduction of this radiator cover for my in-laws' house. We'll also be modernizing it by replacing this grate with just vertical slats. The great thing about recreating an existing object is that you don't have to guess about anything of how it's built. So by turning this around, I can see the exact structure of this radiator cover, and it is incredibly simple. So it's essentially a three-sided box that is open in the front, open on the bottom, open in the back. So we're gonna just use a quarter sheet of plywood for this. I'm going to use some 3/4 inch Baltic birch, and I'm not sure what color or what finish my mother-in-law wants for this. So I'm going to keep it really simple. I'm going to sand everything down so that it's paint ready, and then she can decide what she wants it to be finished with. The original radiator cover is coated in melamine. The one I create is not going to be. So I'm going to take all my measurements as if the melamine is the finished dimension. So my plywood's going to be a tiny bit, about 1/8 of an inch larger in each dimension than the original, but at the end they'll end up being the same size. This entire project uses about a quarter sheet of plywood, so I begin by ripping the sides and the top, and then I head over to the radial arm saw to cut everything to its final length. Make one more rip cut. This piece will become the face frame for the radiator. And then they're cut to length on the radial arm saw. I make sure to label all of my pieces. I have the rough frame now cut to size. It's now time to assemble that frame, and then I'll take the rest of my measurements off of my actual piece without referencing the old unit. Before assembling this, I realized I have one more set of cuts to make on the sides. If you notice, the base of the side has a notch cut out. It's just a 1-inch notch on the end of each one. So I have a setup block here. It goes 4 inches high and just cuts a notch out. I have my notch marked out. Now there are multiple ways to cut this out. I could do it on the radial arm saw, I could do it on the table saw, but I'm pretty good with the bandsaw, so I'm just gonna knock out this notch with the bandsaw. I cut the notch on the bandsaw, and then I take it over to the homemade belt sander to clean it up a little bit. After clearing the dog from the shop, I rip the face frame down to its final width. I then assemble the frame to the radiator cover using wood glue and pin nails. Our frame is now done. All we have to do now is create our vertical slats. Each slat will be 1 inch wide, except for the center slat, which will be 1.5 inches. So we just need to mark exact center, put 1.5 inch slat there, and then measure how much space is left on each side of center, and then divide that up by 1 inch, leaving enough space between them that it actually will let hot air out. I marked a line at exact center on both the slat and the frame, and then used a square to make sure that I was square. Okay, I have my center post mounted. This middle slat is 1.5 inches wide. The rest of the slats on either side will be 1 inch. I've laid out some setup blocks to kind of get an idea of spacing. I'm going to do a 1 inch slat, then a 1/2 inch gap, 1 inch slat, 1/2 inch gap, until I get to the middle here, and then I'm gonna just cheat them in so that it's equal distant on both sides. It doesn't really work out with inch, half, because it's about 11.25 inches on each side of this center, so it will just work out and look a little bit cleaner if I kind of cheat in the middle a little bit. So I need 7 slats per side. I'm first going to take a couple of pieces of the cutoffs, cut them down to 19.25 inches, and then run them through the table saw to rip them down to their final width. This is where the project really starts to speed up. I used a 1/2 inch setup block as a spacer and put all of these slats in and just drew a pencil line across so I would know where I could apply glue. And then just tacked them all in one at a time using the setup block as a spacer. I have all of the vertical slats other than the 2 on each side of the center. So I'm going to now change the spacing from 1/2 inch between the slats to a full inch on one side of the slat. That will then make it so that it staggers and it will look more or less uniform. So the radiator cover is now assembled. Now it's time to sand everything, and then I'm going to apply some edge banding to any of the open plywood edges, just so that this looks like solid wood. Okay, it's all sanded. This is a good place to leave it for now. I need to run out and grab some more edge banding. I don't have enough to do all of the surfaces of this. So I'll run out and get edge banding, and this will cut to me applying the edge banding. Okay, and I'm back. It's been about a day. I'm ready to now finish this. I ran to the hardware store and picked up some edge banding. I just got some white birch edge banding. It's a little bit wider than the edges I need to cover, which is perfect, so I'll just trim it down with a razor after I'm done. I have an iron plugged in and heating up. I have it set on its highest setting so that it will hopefully melt the adhesive on the back of the edge banding quickly, and then give it plenty of time to set. Once that's done, I trim everything and sand everything for a final go. What I have found works best with edge banding is anytime that you can work on a flat surface, the better. Trying to put this on horizontally, it slides around and you end up fighting the edge banding. So if you can lay everything down and just be working on a horizontal surface, it helps greatly in the application. All the edge banding is now done. All I need to do now is trim these last 2 sides, and then I got word from my mother-in-law that she wants it painted white, so we'll do that next. I am now at the painting stage. I want to make sure that my application is nice and even, since this is a gift from my mother-in-law. So I'm going to hit it with a couple of coats of spray primer, just so that the white paint that I end up rolling on goes on nice and even and has a nice even base to be applied to. Okay, I have my single coat of gray primer on here. Once this is all dry, which will be in about 25 to 30 minutes, I'll hit it with a couple of coats of white primer. I like to put a darker primer under a lighter color. It makes the light color look a little bit deeper and makes the color richer. So by putting a coat of dark primer underneath it and then putting a couple of coats of white primer on top of that, I'll get a nice even surface to apply my white paint to, and the paint job should come out a lot cleaner looking and last a lot longer. Primer has now been sitting for a few hours, and this is ready for its final painting. So I just have some ultra gloss white paint that I'm going to use a roller to put on this, and then we should be done. That's it. It's all done. It was a really quick and easy project. I think it came out fantastic. I think my mother-in-law is really going to like it. The only thing left to do is to put a couple of little nail-on feet on the bottom just to lift the radiator cover off of the floor by like a quarter of an inch. This is going to be going into a guest bathroom, so if there's ever water on the floor, I don't want it to get into the wood of the radiator cover. So that's just a little bit of extra assurance that this will last a long time. So thank you for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to keep up to date with new projects as they are released. And until next time, thank you.